Hi, I'm Missy, and welcome to Songology. We've created these series of interviews that help fans and fellow songwriters gain insight into the most brilliant songwriters and producers within the reggae music community. So please hit that subscribe button and don't forget to select all on the alarm bell. Thanks.
Really quickly do a quick introduction here. So we are here with Adam Patterson, AP.
Hello.
Some people know him as
Oh,
singer, songwriter, and drummer for the Expendables from Santa Cruz, California.
yeah,
Welcome.
that's me.
Welcome,
Yeah,
welcome.
thanks for having me. Yeah.
This is weird and awkward because we go so far back, and
Yeah.
I've known you for so long, and to talk to you in like this weird official capacity is kind of funny. But
Yeah.
we're doing this obviously just to give you a little premise. This is our Songology segment where we are wanting to start interviewing and talking to songwriters in, different parts of the genres, different communities in reggae music in general. Just people that we know and that we each obviously knows through business
Yeah.
and kind of dive into how you guys write songs and just kind of learn more about everyone's processes with people that we admire and of course respect in the industry. So I'll probably just start off with some questions and we'll kind of go from there.
Sounds good.
Okay. First thing, let's start off with how do you start a song? Can you describe how you would compose a song? Does it come, what comes first usually for you?
Yeah. So for me, it's not always the same. It's actually changes maybe over the years or whatever. A lot of times it'd just be like a guitar, um, and me kind of playing crappy power chords and just like, jamming on some gibberish really. Like I just start, singing something, but not all lately I've been using kind of more technology and like writing out maybe some like maybe little better songs, like actual like structure of a song and writing to that. But there's never like one set way that I write. I still a lot of times just go to the guitar and play my little crappy power chords over stuff, and then I give it to the real guitar players later. But sometimes piano too. So there but usually it's just kind of some chords and some kind of like I'll have one or two lines and I try to build from there. That's kind of like where it starts for me. But again, it's not always that way. Sometimes I have some, something comes to me and there'll be like a whole chorus already or a whole verse, and then I kind of fit that in. So it really changes depending on the mood, the time of year, where I'm at in my life, how I've been writing, and where I'm at too. So if I'm camping and I have a guitar, I'm not going to have my computer, right? So I can't, go all technical. But if I'm at home and in my little, studio, I can kind of sometimes I'll just create a whole little song and just start, singing to that. So it changes every time. I don't know if that helps anybody, but that's kind of how I've been doing it lately. Yeah.
So it sounds like it's because I know sometimes like when I see Reach, like he will hear something in his head.
hmm
Is it more like a melody that you hear, or do you feel like there's words that come off right away, or something catchy that you're like,
A lot of
what do
time,
you think? What?
yeah, a lot of times it's a melody or like I have stuff in my head and I will embarrassingly sing it into my phone, and go and but when I listen back, it's almost like drunken gibberish. It's not, and I'm not drunk. It's just like, and then I'm like, what the hell? But then I go, okay, I kind of, I mean, if you listen to it, it would be very embarrassing. But it's like, I think a lot of people kind of do that, where they're just like throwing something out there and getting the melody out there, and the words are there in the gibberish, maybe, or like a part of it, and you can put in maybe something that makes more sense eventually. That is a definitely a thing I do a lot. So I think a few people do
And
that.
I don't think you're alone.
What's that?
Yeah, I
Was
feel
that
like
again?
you're not alone. I said I don't think you're
Yeah,
alone
yeah.
on that
I've
for
heard.
sure.
I think John Legend was talking about how he'll just sit in front of a piano and just gibber absolute like crazy gibberish, and then eventually he'll come up with a thing. So I think there's people that do that, and I think that's just the thing. Some people probably write it out and then figure out the melody later. I mean, I've done that too as
Yeah.
well, almost poetry like, and then kind of you know put the melody later on. But yeah, usually it's crazy gibberish.
That's
Yeah.
that's our words of wisdom for right there for
There you
sure.
go. Yeah.
Cool. Well, so then on that note, do you remember the first song you ever wrote?
Um, I know one of the first songs I ever wrote, and it was and we still play it today. It's called Minimum Wage. We
Oh,
wrote it
really?
like I was working at Blockbuster Video at the time. That's how long ago that was. In high
Oh,
school.
wow.
And I think it's like one of the first songs I wrote. Like we used to have songs like, or we still do, Senza Mia, where we just like have one line and it's kind of over and over again, and we eventually put words to it, but it was kind of a jam. But this was like the first one with structure and like, verse, chorus, that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's called Minimum Wage, and I did not know how to write songs back then, so and to this day we still play it. It The first verse is shorter than the second verse, which is very a no-no pretty much in music. But I was like, oh, there's the guitar is playing whatever six times, so the vocal should be six times a second. I didn't know what I was doing, so it's still to this day will throw off our bass player, like the Ryan. He'll be like, oh crap, or, like yeah. So it's kind of
Oh,
funny
that's
though. Yeah, and it's
has
weird.
it
And
so
was that?
go ahead. Go
Oh
ahead.
yeah, it was not how you would probably write a song. Most people aren't going to make the most of the times the verses are the same and the choruses are the same, or they're doubled, but not like some weird number that I wrote in my head because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I was doing at all.
It's
Yeah.
like, let's just do this number and this number. And
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think it was four times through and six times through the progression. Um, the second time with vocals, so it's just kind of strange. So there's like two extra lines
Oh, that's
in the
funny.
second verse. Yeah, and it's weird, but no one seems to notice. I don't know or say anything except for Ryan.
So do you
Yeah.
do you feel like has it evolved at all? Because you say you play it now. Has it evolved at all from like when you first started it? I mean, I know there's like, lots
Yeah.
of verses, but have you ever been like, we should just change this so it's
I
now a
mean,
different formula?
I never changed the words because it's we played it so long before I even figure out like why is this different, and I kind of figured it out
Yeah.
later on. But it's evolved as far as like how we play it. We're just tighter at it, and like our guitar players do some crazy like guitar riff in the middle that probably wasn't in the very beginning of the stages of it. But for the most part it's pretty similar to what we did back when I was 17, so or 16 or whatever.
Okay, well, so then thinking back to all your projects, what was the most challenging project you've completed, you think, to date?
You mean like a song, or do you mean like the entire
Yeah, like
project? Okay.
yeah,
Oof.
the songwriting project, maybe.
Yeah, it's kind of like, honestly, I kind of forget the process once it's like done. Because it's not like we just, okay, we're gonna sit down, write a song, and then now it's done. It's like you kind of start songs and then you put them away, and like I have a song off this last album that I've been toying with for probably 6 years, and I just never sat down and finished it, or I just never felt right. So um it's hard to be like what's the hardest one, but I know that like, yeah, you kind of forget the process because I even in this song that's on the last, that's called Homewrecker, I've had different variations of it um for years, like even before the last album we did, and I just you kind of forget that you did all that. So I guess like that one would be a hard one to do, because it was so many different styles and ways and words and until the
Yeah.
finished product. But I wouldn't say it was like challenging. It just was like took forever, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's not really the same thing because I just you forget about it. Like maybe a year goes
Yeah.
by, I don't even touch it, and then I go, oh
Yeah.
yeah, that thing, and I kind of go back to it. So I kind of forget the process like of all the songs, and when they're done, you're kind of like, oh, it's done. You kind of forget how you wrote it because at least for me, it wasn't like I'm going in this room, I'm gonna finish this, and then it's done. It's never like that for me. So it's usually a lengthy process for most songs I write.
I think a lot of artists or songwriters are like that though too. Like,
Yeah.
it probably goes back to like your whole process for composing. You've got like diverse sounds that you put in your phone, and then,
Yeah.
later maybe you've got some melodies or chords you want to throw on there and stuff. So
Yep.
I don't think that that's, yeah, I think that's pretty standard almost like for most people when you talk
Yeah,
about what people go through. Like some of the projects they've done are like years and years in the making. So,
absolutely. And then I've also had songs like the one I talked about earlier, Minimum Wage, where I think I wrote that in like 30 minutes. Like I was
right.
playing piano and I didn't do the gibberish, I didn't know what I was doing, but I had the words and it all just flowed out of me. There's a few times that happens. Very rarely for me, but there's I think some artists will say some of their best songs are written in like 15 minutes and then some of them are
Yeah.
like, oh, it took me like 8 years to complete the song. I kind of
Yeah.
have done both. So yeah. Challenging though, yeah, I guess that is challenging when it takes that long, but I just don't think about it because it just a lot of times I'll literally forget about the song and then it'll pop in my
Mhm.
head and go, "Oh, I should probably finish that one or work on it some more or whatever." So, yeah.
So then, on that note, so going back to songs or thinking about what you need to finish, what are some techniques that you have, or maybe suggestions that you have for someone who has writer's block? Like, how do you find your motivation?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I think everyone goes through that. I feel like I went through it maybe for like a year or something where you're just kind of like nothing I'm writing is rad or at least in my head. But I would say like
Mhm.
I don't I would just say even if you feel like it's crap, you can lay it down on something like your phone or like on paper, get it to somewhere and then give it a rest for a little bit and maybe come back to it or don't, but just keep putting it down. Like even if you don't feel like it's good, I think that um getting it down on something and then coming back to it, you might like I'll go back to that song Home Record. I mean, I could have gave up on that song so many times and I feel like the finished product is pretty good, so I'm glad I didn't, and I
Yeah,
had writer's block for sure on that song, which is
it's a
probably
great
why.
song, by the way.
Oh, thank I wasn't sure if you heard it, but thank you, thank you.
Yeah,
But it took a long time to get it to there, but and it could have very well just never made it to anything. But I would say just work on it a little bit here. Just keep working on stuff because eventually you'll get through it, I think. Um,
mm,
and then I think I've heard people do this with writing as well as like just kind of write, just write to write. It doesn't matter. You can always never look at it again. And if it's just like a horrible song, you can never show it to anybody, but just keep going and going and going. You'll get through those, kind of crappy parts or songs even, and you'll get to the next good one, maybe, possibly. But just don't stop. Don't just go, oh, I give up. Yeah, never do that.
that is sound advice, and it's so true. Like, I mean, probably some of the greatest songs we've ever heard in our lifetime, is because they took so long to do it or they didn't stop writing, they were stay
Right.
motivated. So that
Yeah,
makes sense to me. Yeah. Okay, so then what artists inspired you the most to become a songwriter?
songwriter. Yeah, so like usually you hear that question with like just in general, like a band or whatever. So
Yeah.
like Slightly Stupid is like one of my biggest influences as far as like just being in a band, right, or music. Um,
Yeah.
and songwriter too as well. Like that you can't say they haven't influenced my songwriting for sure. But I would say in like more songwriting, definitely I like the Beatles are always up there because it's just like so crazy good and different, and like a lot of their stuff is very, you know, it's some real poppy, just like whatever, and then there's like some really crazy stuff. I just really like the Beatles songwriting, and Paul Simon's another one that's just he's like kind of like a poet in a sense, like where he is a poet, and so there's like that kind of beautiful like imagery and like the way he
Hmm.
just basically is writing poetry and singing it, and that's kind of fun. And then honestly, like some of the more simpler stuff like Green Day, and I mean I call it simpler, but just like just growing up, Green Day was a big like I like the way they wrote stuff, and or
Yeah.
um but yeah, that's a hard one because like I feel like I'm inspired by a lot of different artists and maybe even a song only rather than just their whole catalog. um
Right.
Yeah, but that's an interesting question because you always hear like what's your influence as a band, but not as a songwriter. And I
Yeah.
don't know if I exactly have that answer, but definitely like those ones I told you. But there's probably a million others that I'm just not thinking of at the moment. But I mean, anybody that writes a rad song, that's inspiring. I mean, that's hard to do, to write a song that you just like, oh, that's catchy instantly. Like that's a one style that's maybe not so catchy, but just like beautiful lyrics, like
Mhm.
that's like just so hard to do. Um, and so like maybe I don't love their band, but if they're writing some kind of cool song like that, that's definitely inspiring to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that you do you find that you listen to the lyrics or like the melody and the actual like catchiness of
Yeah.
the song itself? What do you tend to gravitate towards first?
I would say because well, I'm in a band, but I also record
Mhm.
and I also write songs. So I have like three things that I'm picking apart all at the same time as a when I'm listening to a song. So I usually gravitate towards um like if I'm listening to a recorded song, I'm listening like how do they record it, like what I like about it, what I don't like about the recording part of it. And then eventually I'll
Mhm.
get to like the song and the catchiness and the all that, and then eventually the lyrics I probably are last, unfortunately, but that's just how my brain is working. Like, oh, that guitar and where the drums are sitting in the mix and the vocals like too loud or too awesome or whatever. So I'm kind of like
Yeah.
that's kind of probably where I go. It's hard to I've heard a lot of musicians talk about this where it's hard to just enjoy a song anymore. Like you are just in your brain picking apart, like in a good way or a bad way, just like the way the song was like made. And it kind of sucks sometimes. Like it's hard for me just to listen to music. If I've heard the
Mhm.
song 3,000 times, then I can finally do that. Or if it's something I just know, I can kind of just listen to it for what it is. But anything new, I can't just feel it. I'm just in my brain picking it apart. Eventually lyrics are probably like the last thing that I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool, or I don't really love this part of it, but that kind of thing in my brain. I wish I could just listen to it like a normal human being, but
That's interesting.
yeah.
I never really thought about that way for you guys as
Well, ask
songwriters
Weege. Yeah,
besides
ask we.
listening.
Yeah, ask we. I bet he's the same
I
way. Yeah, I
oh
don't know
yeah.
that if he is,
I
but you should ask him.
honestly
I'd be curious. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he'd have similar answers as
yeah,
you. I think also the whole like producer and studio and recording kind of
yeah,
side of you both plays into that too. But
yeah. It
that's
adds another like
so
psycho element to it, where like you're not just in a band. You're like you also are recording stuff. So you're like, oh, well, how was that snare recorded? So it's like it gets even more dumb where you can't just
yeah.
enjoy the damn song. You have to like go, okay, how where was the mic placement on this first tom? And you're like, that's just so not necessary.
Oh, that's so funny. Like, cause me, I don't do any of that. I don't
Yeah, don't.
write songs.
Yeah. And then you can enjoy
And
music.
I will listen to songs and I'm just like, that's super catchy. Like that's awesome. Like I
Yeah.
love this, like it doesn't even but yeah,
That's
I can see how like, as a songwriter or recorder and,
yeah.
someone that in the studio a lot, probably.
Yeah, I miss that. I miss that as like a kid. I would be that's how I'd listen to music. Just be like, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
rad," and
Yeah.
not know why it's rad or whatever. It just what. But now, yeah, now I can't do that. And then I go to old songs now that I used to love, and then I just go, oh, pick it apart even more. So yeah, it's
It's
crazy.
ruining it for you. No.
A little bit, but it's there's a good reason for it. But yeah, it can ruin a little bit of the experience of just wanting to listen to a song for the song. I'm sure that happens with directors and actors where they're watching a movie. It's hard for them to probably just watch a movie. They're like, "Oh, how did they do this scene?" Where I don't know that stuff. I don't want to know it because that'll ruin movies for me. So I'd rather, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
not going to be a director.
there's a magic element that maybe gets dulled a little bit for
Yeah,
everyone behind the scenes.
yeah, probably in every profession. Honestly, I haven't thought about that, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So we talked about like the artists that influence you. Are there other like key influences in your life, maybe like not famous, maybe outside of music that kind of, inspire you and can write songs and
write
take
songs
from that?
about it. Yeah,
Maybe, yeah.
I'm I don't always write songs from personal experiences. Like for
Okay,
example.
interesting.
Like Homewrecker is not from a personal experience. I just was like, this is an interesting, like, I don't know, just an interesting thing that happens to some people, and it happen, or they are a homewrecker. But it's that, like, that's not like something that's happened to me necessarily, or that I writing about. Yeah, a lot of times I don't write necessarily about personal experiences, just more of an experience
Mhm.
that people have. But of course, sometimes, a little bit for sure. I mean, I know some people definitely write from personal experiences, but I think
Okay.
as our band, we probably do both.
Yeah.
Uh, it's probably 50-50, like, but I think I tend to write stories ish more than so it's not like an inspiration necessarily from something I've seen or someone I know. It's more of just human experience that I know people have
Yeah.
gone through or people will go through, kind of thing. I'm trying to think of another song that I wrote that isn't that way. Maybe that's all I do. I don't know.
You're a storyteller.
Yeah, maybe a storyteller, or like, and I think that that's cool because it's maybe more a bigger audience can relate to it, because it's not so like,
Right.
this is what I went through. But also, I think when people do write about deeply personal crazy experiences, you can get some really good stuff from that. So um
Absolutely.
I think it's good both way. I don't Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of write from the human experience versus like my own. It's kind of, I guess, where I'm getting at.
Well, that's awesome. So then I'm curious because you mentioned piano. Obviously, you
Mhm.
play drums for the Expendables. Is there an instrument you wish you learned to play or that you maybe plan on wanting to learn?
I wish that I stuck with the piano, because I know a little bit, but I really don't know that much. And it's such a valuable instrument as far as like music production and just being like songwriting. I feel like songwriting on a piano is really fun and easy, not easier, but it just does something. Guitar is another one. Like, I play these things, but a very half-ass like sort of way.
Mhm.
I wish I learned like how to properly play guitar. Um, for personal reasons. Like, it'd be fun to go jam at a bar, but I can't do that. I don't know how to play guitar. I can't go on there and just drum. But yeah, those are the two I wish I like learned. I could still try. I'm trying to learn guitar, but it's harder as you get older to break old habits and learn a new thing. It's a lot easier when they're young. So get them while they're young if you can, to play an instrument, because it is easier to figure it out, supposedly. Yeah. Piano would be, I wish I was just a badass piano player. I think that would be really cool. I think I stopped playing when I was like 12. Like, I took lessons maybe like 9 to 12, and that was okay, but I wish I would have stuck with it instead of just being like, oh, I want to go play baseball or something, whatever the hell I was doing. Um,
Yeah.
which, was fun, but I think it would have been a little bit better later on if I just stuck with something like piano, and maybe learn guitar, something like that.
You still have time.
Oh,
Go
for
sit
sure.
in front of a piano. Go back to the bar and just start noodling on it and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely play crappily, but I'd rather be able to play mediocre. That's my goal, is just mediocre guitar. But someday.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, piano is probably the number one thing that everyone says. If they don't already know it, they wish
Yeah,
they could learn it.
it's hard,
uh,
but it's really cool instrument.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I, I tried playing piano and I don't know, it wasn't catching on for me. I'm not really I don't play instruments. I played the flute like in
Hmm.
sixth grade, and that was the extent of like
Yeah,
my musical instruments.
it's the flute. Yeah, I have no desire to play on a wind instrument. I don't know why. It seems hard as hell, and I just like don't want to be. I don't know why. I just never have been like, I want to play the sax or something. It hasn't come to me. Yeah. I tried trombone, I think, when I was like sixth grade, and I couldn't even like get through the first day of it at
Yeah,
band practice at school, so I quit
those definitely
immediately.
seem a lot harder, like
They
the
do, yeah,
horns. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so then let's see. Let me make sure I'm going through all my questions here.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's one that I'm sure this is probably definitely speaks to musicians and songwriters. So when you have deadlines, how do you manage your day and balance like songwriting still and production? Do you have like a process for that? Or I mean, I know it's you go on tour a lot, you do like
Yeah.
a lot. How do you find the time to write?
I think a lot of times we don't have deadlines. There's kind of a general like you need to get this album done before the next summer, and then it'll be like literally a year, or not the end of summer, and you have all fall and part of winter to finish it, and it's got to be done by like say March-ish. But if it's not, it doesn't really matter too much. So deadlines aren't a huge thing in our world. I personally thrive with deadlines. Like if you're like, I need this album done March 1st, I will have it done. It just but I will procrastinate the hell out of it until like it's almost
April
too late.
30th.
But I
You
work
know?
better. I work better. Yeah, I work better that way where I kind of procrastinate and then I really focus whatever. But balancing it's harder. I got two kids now and tour and stuff like that. But I kind of know when tour's coming and like I have the kids during the day when my wife works, but so I have nights and then she's off weekends. So like I can make the time and she's very, very, very cool about letting, understanding I need that time to do that. I'm a night owl, which isn't the greatest for, with kids and my wife works at 5 in the morning, but like I tend to just do better at night. Like I like being up late and writing and that's just kind of my thing, the way I do stuff. I also like to, if we're talking about songwriting in general, I'll go camping for 3 or 4 days by myself and like just get some general crap down on a guitar, maybe my phone. And then I will take that and kind of mold it. I do a lot of, and I suggest this to anyone that is songwriting. There's the voice memos on iPhones, and I'm sure there's something similar to that on other things, but just get it down because a lot of times you have the cool idea and it might be gone forever if you don't sing it into the phone, even if it sounds stupid. No one's going to hear it but you, most likely. But that kind of just getting it down, and doing that, that's some good advice right there. But yeah, so like that's kind of how I juggle deadlines, and I know there's like a general time we need this done, and then there's the whole recording process. So that's not writing, that's like a different kind of process. So the writing needs to be done before you really are recording. I mean, you can do a little here and there, but
Yeah.
the structure of the song needs to be done. You can fiddle with lyrics if you're not recording vocals yet, but essentially the meat of it's got to be done by, I don't know, if you need a month to record, you got to get it done before you start, really, because you got to practice the songs and then record them. So, I yeah, the wife helps, with the kids a little more, and I'll go and write the songs. And then it's not just me writing though, which is cool. It's like the whole band at this point is writing lyrics even now, so like that's a
Oh,
huge part of it, and we're all working on each other's songs, but it's not like I have to write 12 songs. I got to write maybe 3 or 4 or 5 at the most, and that's easier, than being like the sole songwriter of a band, like your husband Weege is. He pretty much writes them all, if I'm not mistaken. That's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of, if you're putting out a 10-song album, that's 10 songs to write. That's not easy thing to do. So I kind of have it easier than Weege does.
so did the Expendables always start with everyone songwriting, or was it?
Um, Kind of for the most part. Some people definitely write more than others, but a lot of times we bring it to, like, when I write a song, it's never just me that writes it. Maybe I'll write most of the lyrics or all of the lyrics, but like
Mhm.
I'll bring it to the table as a piece of clay, and it gets, it'll turn into whatever it's going to be, and then the lyrics will definitely change, and those guys put their input into it. So it's like I don't really ever consider it like my song. It's like it's our song because I'm just happen to bring, the first part of it. And like everybody
Yeah.
does their cool parts because I'm not a guitar player and they're gonna do something rad. And I don't write bass lines and he's gonna do it, and that's gonna change maybe even how I sing it. So it it's yeah, it becomes our song in my opinion when we bring it to the kind of the practice of the table. So we
Wow.
all have a piece of it. Like there's not one song I can think of where wasn't influenced or changed by the band members once I brought it to them.
That's cool. That's great. I didn't realize that it was all of you guys. For some reason, I just thought mostly maybe you or Jeff or,
No,
but that's so
actually,
cool.
Ryan, our bass player, writes a whole bunch of lyrics and stuff. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah, a
He
lot of stuff.
mentioned them. Like,
Hmm.
we should get Ryan on too. And I was like, Ryan? He's like, yeah.
Absolutely,
He
you should
says
have.
he writes all the time. I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah, you should absolutely have Ryan on this. He wrote on just on the last album alone. He wrote the lyrics, I think, to "Do Me" and there's another one. I'm past the joint. There's some other ones too. I'm just not thinking of. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
he's actually like very skilled in songwriting and very like he and his process is probably way different than me. I'd actually like to watch what he would say to you. So I hope you do interview
Yeah.
Ryan. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Now that I know you guys all right, I'm definitely going to try to get you guys
yeah.
all
Everyone
on the
every one of us
show.
writes something. Yeah, Raul wrote "Silence Over Sound" on the last album. He probably writes the least lyrics, but he also is just kind of getting back into that again, which is really cool because it's something different that we haven't had Raul's lyrics necessarily in a while, which is cool because
Yeah.
it's like totally different than something I would write, and it's really fun to like sing it because it's not I didn't write it, so it's fun to work on something like that where
Yeah.
yeah, it's someone else
Raul
doing it.
is definitely, yeah, he amazes me. Like, just I just remember when he was contributing to some of Ouija's songs, and Ouija just be like, "I need guitars for this," and
Yeah,
then Raul would come back with them, and I was like, "That's freaking crazy!" Like, he just did
yeah,
that, like, without
it's yeah, he's good at
amazing,
that for sure.
and it's so catchy and good.
Yeah, absolutely, it's awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. So I just have one more question. It's,
Okay,
very open ended and up to you how you want to answer it. But what is the best advice ever given to you?
yeah,
I guess on songwriting, if that helps.
yeah, that's a tough one. I can't think of like, and that doesn't mean I haven't been given advice, but I can't think of any advice that I've been given like for as a band or I don't know that or maybe I just have a horrible memory, but I don't know if anyone's been like, "Hey, do this." And I kind of wish someone would have, cuz songwriting is weird. You're essentially creating something out of nothing. I mean, the thing did not
Right.
exist 5 minutes before you actually, did it. And that's kind of crazy if you think about it. Literally was not on
Mhm.
this earth until you just started it. I wish someone was like, "Hey, like I've gotten some like technical advice on songwriting, like writing strophic, I think strophically or strophic, where like the syllables in the like when you're doing the verse, the first verse and the second verse, like the first line of the first verse and the first line of the second verse should be the same syllables. And that's like
Ugh.
strophic writing. That's like the old school, like when if you go to church and you're reading you're singing, you know how all the notes go with the words, and each verse is the same. So the melody is exactly the same. That is a style. It's not the way it is, but that is a big style of singing and songwriting. And just knowing that's like kind of how you should write makes it easier because you fit the words of the second verse to match the first verse. And if you can't, you can kind of fiddle with the first verse. So that way when someone's singing it, they're singing it the exact same way on the first verse, just different words, as they do the second verse,
Mhm.
just different words. Choruses are choruses, right? They're the same. Um, but that kind of technical advice was kind of cool. I had never been told that before, so a lot of our old writing is not that at all. But as from a pop standpoint, um, a lot of pop music is if you listen to it, like you can sing the second verse over the first verse like easily because they're both the same. It's just different words.
Right.
And also that
Mhm.
repetitive melody gets in your head. So that's kind of a cool technical, I guess, advice that I was told. Um, way too late in the game, but it's kind of how I write. I try to write strophic. I think it's called strophic, where I will like clap them out how many syllables are in each thing, and then sing it the same way. And not always. It's sometimes like you don't want to like ruin a song because you can't make it exactly. Like you don't want to make it not make sense because you're trying to fit
Right.
it in the syllable thing.
Right.
but it is a nice way to do it, and that is how like a lot of songwriting is. Um, but not always. It's not always. There's no right or wrong way to do anything, but that is a way that people have been doing it for hundreds of years. And I never knew it. So that's like a technical piece of advice. But other than that, I can't think of anything else that someone said. But yeah, it's like a technical thing. Getting in the
That's
weeds with
great.
that.
Well, that's super helpful. I mean,
Yeah,
and especially now you put it into practice. I'm sure.
yeah.
Hopefully, it makes something a little bit
It
easier.
makes songwriting almost easier sometimes once I get the initial idea in my head. I go, okay, how do I do this strophically? I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but strophic is the word. Look it
You
up.
create a
And
new word. Yeah,
yeah,
a
and
new word
hopefully I'm
with a
not just
P.
lying and there's like no such
Hopefully.
word, but yeah. But yeah, that's like
It is now. It's a
yeah,
word now.
maybe I invented it. Just I don't think so. But yeah, if you look at most bands, that kind of write that way, or at least did, and it's helpful. It's very helpful.
Well, that's sound advice for sure. And hopefully everybody listening or whoever watches this is a
Uh,
songwriter and wants to strophically use
yeah,
something in their songwriting.
Google Strophic. I think that's the word. The word. I hope I'm not way off. That'd be
I think
embarrassing, but
I made up another word on top of whatever word you just made up. So,
yeah,
anyways,
strophication.
well, yeah. So,
Yeah,
okay, great. Well, I don't have any other questions. I would just like to hear like what's happening now in AP's life. Like,
yeah.
do you have new songs coming out? You personally, Expendables? Are you working on stuff? How's the family? Like, let's hear it all.
Yeah, family's good. I got a little newish baby. She's 8 months old or whatever, so that's fun. Then I got
Nice.
her older brother is like 5. So I got that. It's a lot going on. That's really fun. We're
Yeah.
touring like crazy, which is hard when you have kids, but it's needed because we have a new album that we just put out, and we wrote it all except for one song, which is a cover song. But yeah, I think it's like 13 songs or 12 or 13, and we haven't done a full album in a long time. It's really nice to have something that we're all proud of. It took us a while. Pandemic was hard, but we wrote it during it and after it, and it's out. And now we kind of got the bug where we're like all wanting to write again. We're trying to get another one out by next summer. That's like the new thing. So we're already kind of at it again. Like I'm already getting the notebooks out and trying to write some strophic songs. So yeah, I'm it's kind of cool because we're just I think I feel more motivated than I ever have, and I feel like hopefully the writer's block, won't be as much, and just take some of the advice that I was talking about earlier and just write to write, and hopefully some good stuff
Yeah.
comes out. But yeah, we're trying to get another album out, by next summer, and or next fall, like literally like a year from September. I'm hoping we have another album out. That's the goal, and then just do it every year. Just don't stop.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And your latest album, I love as well.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Super
Yeah, we're stoked
awesome.
on it. I'm glad people seem to like it. Whether it does well or not, that doesn't matter. But if people are like, "That was good," that's all I wanted. I just wanted an
Uh,
album where they're like, "That was pretty good." So if we got that, I'm
no,
stoked on that.
it's catchy as hell, let me tell
Oh,
you.
thank,
So yeah,
thanks.
you guys are
That's
doing
good.
great things.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that.
I loved
Yeah,
it, or at least I love you. I love
yeah.
you guys.
Well, you
So
got
of
the shirt on still, so at least
course I'm
yeah.
gonna say that.
No.
Awesome. Well, so and then when are you coming back to Colorado so we can I can actually say hi to you in person?
Yeah. When is this coming out? The podcast, or when is it?
Oh, I that's a good question. Well, I don't know. I
Oh
have
no,
to
it's okay.
ask.
No. That'll Oh, I think we're gonna be in Colorado on the Pleasure Point tour. I could be wrong. I have to look at I don't know the dates, but I'm almost positive we are. So, we're doing a tour in fall, and we should be. I don't have the date offhand, but we will be all over the country in the fall, on our own Pleasure Point tour. So, playing the songs that
This should definitely
we've been
come
writing
out
at.
before the fall.
Yeah, yeah. I hope so. Yeah, yeah. It's awesome.
So
Um, yeah,
we'll
congratulations
promote the show
on
for
your new
you.
show too. Congrats on doing this. This is really cool.
I know.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea. Like
No, this is great.
songwriting, when you guys
Yeah, I
first
mean,
start out, you have no idea what you're doing.
I
But
haven't heard of a podcast. Right, video is a video podcast or both? Both.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah,
both
I'm
probably.
way into podcasts now. I don't know when that happened. I have a longer drive than I used to get to my new house. But I've been listening to podcasts. I love them. And this is the first one I've seen about songwriting. There's ones
Yeah,
with bands. There's ones with like recording and stuff. But I haven't heard one about just specifically songwriting, which is cool because that's how you get to record songs. You got to write the song first. So it's
yeah,
very
yeah. That's
unique
all.
and cool though. Yeah, I keep it up because everyone has a different process. Like my process is weird, and everyone else's is probably weird too. So I'd like to hear someone else's the way
And
they do it.
which I
Uh,
think is also really interesting and fun to hear about because yeah, like, I'm a creative person, not in music. I
mhm,
love film and acting and drama and all that stuff, but
yeah,
so it's still nice to understand like where people come from when they're in that creative mode and what they
yeah,
do and
absolutely.
just listening to like their processes and stuff. So yeah, it's cool and I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm glad we asked
Yeah,
me to
that's
be a
really
part
cool.
of
And
it.
yeah, I look forward to listening to other people talk about how they do it and maybe steal some
Yeah.
tips to make my life easier for sure. I'm not above stealing uh you know strategies. So
Neither. No, I'm kidding.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I don't have anything else. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to add, but I do appreciate you taking the
Oh yeah,
time to
absolutely. Yeah, I
connect
will.
with me.
I'll hit up Ryan because I would love for you to interview him about
Yeah,
his process because it's definitely different. He like is a songwriter for sure. I think he's a songwriter maybe first over a bass player. So you should
that,
definitely. I'll hit him up. I'll text him right after this. I'll see if he's interested for sure.
yeah, for sure. Anybody else you can think of too? I would love to like, kind of
Yeah.
interview with.
There's a bunch of bands I could get. Yeah. I mean, there's so many, so you can have your hands
Yeah.
full.
Well,
That's great.
so our very first interview was actually last night, and it was with Leon Davey from Catch a Fire.
Oh, awesome.
I was I was sweating bullets the entire time. I was just like, "This is just so cool." I don't know,
Yeah.
how this even happened, but I'm so happy to have this experience. But yeah, and his stuff was really interesting too. So I can't wait to share
Yeah,
it.
I'm guessing everyone is going to have a different process, and that's what's really cool about what you're doing because you're not going to hear the same story every time. You're not going to be like, not everyone sits and plays, you know, and sings gibberish on a guitar like I do, but I'd like to see what they do. That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well, thank you, AP. I
yeah,
don't have anything else, and again,
okay,
I really do appreciate your time and
yeah, absolutely,
um, yeah, I'll let you know when this comes out. If anything you need from us comes up, just let me know.
for
And
sure. Yeah, let me
otherwise,
know, and we'll post it and all that for
say
sure.
hi to your family and stuff.
We'll
And
do.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Tell everybody I
All
said
right.
hi.
Have a good day.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Bye.